Hey, welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you've never been here before. But I know you're excited because there are more legal questions out there, and you were just hoping to find some more lawyers on social media, so here I am. So here we're going to talk about what happens if you're trying to buy a business or some real estate and you can't either get financed or maybe you can't get the whole purchase price financed. So one of those two scenarios arises. Well, we like to bridge the gap with something called seller financing. So if you've never heard of this before, it's exactly what it sounds like. It means if there's a gap, if the business you want to buy is $1 million and you can only get financed for $700,000, then the seller finances or becomes the bank for that $300,000 deficit. Or let's say a scenario where you can't get any part of it financed for a myriad of reasons. In that scenario, the seller might be the bank or loan you the entire $1 million purchase price. So we call that seller financing. How does that work? Well, it works much like it does with a regular bank, but the idea being that you and the seller would agree on how much of a monthly payment you would make or how much of a quarterly payment or annual payment. There's a variety of different ways you can put it together. It just depends on what you want the payment terms to be. So you and the seller agree on those. You agree on an interest rate if there's going to be one. Sometimes there's not an interest rate built in per se, but there might be a premium that you would pay, some sort of amount of money that says, I recognize, Mr. Seller, that you're the lender here, and so I'm going to pay you a little bit more than the purchase price in order for you to carry the risk or the note of the financing. So that would be point one, right? Figure out what the payment's going to be. Number two, figuring out how long the repayment schedule is going to be. It might be, 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, and then maybe you refinance whatever the balance of the loan is at that point with a traditional bank after you've had a couple of years to build up some credit history or tax return history, that kind of thing. Or it could even be for the life of the loan itself. So the seller might say, hey, look, I would love to treat this as an annuity, right? Where they just receive payments over time for 10 years or 20 years, and they may agree to that. So those are the key terms that you would agree to if you want to deal with some seller financing. Typically, the seller is going to have what we call a security interest in either the real estate or the business or the equipment. That just means if you default, then they have a claim against that real estate or they have a claim against that equipment, much like a lender would, a traditional lender. And then we start putting documents together. So once you've got the agreement in place, you would execute a note, a promissory note, just like you would for a bank that documents the basic terms of the loan. And then you might execute what's called a security agreement. So for real estate, that might be a mortgage agreement. For maybe equipment, that might just be a pure security agreement similar to, and this is probably way more than you ever wanted to know, but maybe similar to like a UCC1 or some sort of filing like that. Again, just giving the lender the ability to basically collect against whatever assets you're using as security for loans, for the loan anyway. But it's a great tool. Seller financing is a great tool. Like I said, it helps bridge the gap sometimes where traditional financing can't quite get you all the way there. Also, just for scenarios that maybe for whatever reason you can't get traditional financing, it still allows you and the seller to complete a deal. So seller financing, great tool. Hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully if you're running into some obstacles with traditional financing out there, you might think of this as a potential option. So good luck.